Jake Morrison stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers didn't make sense. His fingers moved across the control panel as he checked the readings again. Still the same impossible result. "Lisa, come look at this," he called to his friend. Across the bridge, Lisa Rodriguez finished her coffee and walked over to Jake's station. She had been working on the ship's communication systems for the past 3 hours. Her back hurt from bending over the equipment. "What's wrong now?" she asked. The U.E.'s Harmony was an old ship. Something always needed fixing. "Look at these sensor readings," Jake said. He pointed to the display screen. "There's something out there, something big." Lisa looked at the numbers. She had been trained to read sensor data, but this looked strange. The object was about 2 miles long and moving very slowly. It wasn't giving off any heat or radio signals. "Could be space junk," Lisa said. "Maybe an old asteroid." "No," Jake shook his head. "Look at the shape readings. It's too regular, too smooth. This thing was made by someone." Captain Ryan Carter walked onto the bridge. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been commanding ships for 20 years. Nothing surprised him anymore. "What do we have?" Carter asked. "Unknown object, sir," Jake reported. 2.3 miles long. No energy readings. It's drifting in the outer system. Carter looked at the screen. He had seen a lot of strange things in space. Most of them turned out to be nothing important. But something about this felt different. "Any signs of life?" Carter asked. "Nothing on the bioscanners," Lisa said. "But the object is blocking our deep scans. We can't see inside it." Carter thought for a moment. The Harmony was an exploration ship. Their job was to investigate unknown objects. But they were also alone out here, far from any help. "Take us closer," Carter decided, "but keep our distance. I want to know what we're dealing with." The Harmony moved through space toward the mysterious object. As they got closer, the shape became clearer on their screens. It looked like a giant crystal. The surface was smooth and dark, reflecting the light from distant stars. "I've never seen anything like this," Lisa whispered. Jake was running every scan he could think of. The object was definitely artificial. Someone had built this thing. But who? And when? Dr. Amanda Foster came onto the bridge. She was the ship's science officer and expert on alien artifacts. Her job was to study anything strange they found. "I heard we found something interesting," she said. "Take a look at this, Doc," Carter said. He stepped aside so Amanda could see the main screen. Amanda studied the object for several minutes. She had spent years learning about different alien cultures. This didn't match anything in her database. "The construction is incredibly advanced," she said. "Look at how perfectly smooth it is. No tool marks, no joints or seams. It's like someone grew this thing instead of building it. Could it be dangerous?" Carter asked. "Hard to say. It's not giving off any radiation. No electromagnetic signals. If it's a weapon, it's not active." Jake's console started beeping. New readings were coming in as they got closer to the object. "Sir, I'm picking up some kind of internal structure," he said. "There are chambers inside, and something else." The scans show crystalline formations throughout the entire object. "Like the outside?" Amanda asked. "Similar, but smaller. Thousands of them, maybe millions." Lisa was working at her communication station. She was trying different frequencies, hoping the object might respond to radio signals. So far, nothing was working. She sighed and leaned back in her chair. Her grandmother used to say that music could reach anyone, anywhere. Lisa's grandmother had taught her old songs from Earth, songs that had been passed down for generations. Without thinking, Lisa started humming one of those old songs. It was a simple melody her grandmother had sung to her as a child. The tune filled the quiet bridge. Suddenly, Every screen on the ship lit up. Alarms started ringing. The mysterious object was glowing with bright blue light. "What did you do?" Carter shouted over the noise. "I don't know," Lisa said. She had stopped humming, but the object kept glowing. Jake's fingers flew over his controls, trying to understand what was happening. The object was sending out signals now. Complex patterns of light and sound. "It's responding to something," Jake said. The activity started right when ... He looked at Lisa. Everyone on the bridge was looking at her. "When you were humming, Amanda," said quietly, Lisa felt her face turn red. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to activate anything. I was just ... "Don't apologize," Carter said. "Do it again, sir. Hum that song again. Let's see what happens." Lisa took a deep breath and started humming the same melody. Immediately, the object's glow got brighter. New patterns of light began moving across its surface. "Incredible, Amanda." Breathed. "It's definitely responding to the musical tones." Jake was recording everything. The object was projecting something into space around it. Holographic images that looked like star maps. "Are you seeing this?" Jake asked. "It's showing us a map of the galaxy, but not how it looks now. This is old, really old. The star positions were different. Some stars that existed in the current maps were missing. Others that no longer existed were clearly marked." "How old are we talking about?" Carter asked. Amanda was studying the star patterns. She had software that could compare different time periods. "Based on stellar drift and the positions shown here, I'd say this map is at least 50,000 years old, maybe older." The holographic display changed. Now it was showing other objects like this one. Hundreds of them, scattered across the galaxy. Each one was marked with complex symbols. "There are more of these things," Lisa said. She had stopped humming, but the display continued. "A whole network," Jake added. "Look at the connection lines between them." Carter stared at the display. If this was real, they had discovered evidence of an ancient galactic civilization. A civilization that had built crystal ships and scattered them across the stars. "We need to get closer," Carter decided. "I want a full scan of that object." And Lisa ... "Yes, sir? Keep humming. I think that song of yours just opened the door to the biggest discovery in human history." The next morning, Dr. Amanda Foster couldn't sleep. She had spent all night studying the data from the crystal object. Her small cabin was filled with papers and computer screens showing star maps and strange symbols. "Captain," Carter found her in the science lab at 6 in the morning. She was drinking her 4th cup of coffee and staring at translation programs on her computer. "Any progress?" Carter asked. Amanda looked up. Her eyes were red from staying awake too long. "I think I know what they called themselves. The builders of these crystal ships. What did you find?" Amanda pointed to symbols that kept appearing in the holographic messages. "These symbols show up everywhere, in every transmission from the object. I think it means keeper or guardian in their language." "Keepers of what?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out. But look at this." Amanda brought up a new display on her screen. The crystal object isn't just showing us star maps. It's showing us their history. The screen showed images that moved. Like a movie. Strange alien cities with tall crystal towers. Beings that looked like they were made of light and energy floating between the buildings. "The keepers weren't like us," Amanda explained. "They didn't have physical bodies the way we do. They were pure energy, and they stored everything they knew in these crystal networks." Carter watched the images. The alien cities were beautiful, but something felt sad about them. Empty. "Where are they now?" he asked. "That's the problem. Look at the end of their records. The images changed. The crystal cities went dark. The light beings disappeared. Then came pictures of something else. Dark shapes that moved like smoke across the stars. What are those things? I don't know. But whatever they were, they destroyed the keepers. Every last one of them. Jake Morrison joined them in the lab. He had been working all night too, trying to understand the star maps. I've got coordinates, Jake announced. The crystal object is pointing us toward a specific system. It's about 3 days away at maximum speed. What's there? Carter asked. According to our star charts, nothing special. A dead system with a few rocky planets. But according to the Keeper maps, it was once one of their major worlds. Carter thought about their options. The Harmony was an exploration ship, but they were also responsible for the safety of their crew. Flying to an unknown system could be dangerous. What does the object tell us about this place? He asked Amanda. The symbols suggest it was called Zerion Prime, some kind of cultural center for the Keepers. If we're going to understand what happened to them, that's where we need to go. Lisa Rodriguez had been listening from the doorway. She felt responsible for activating the alien object. Now everyone was talking about flying into unknown space because of her humming. Is it safe? Lisa asked. The Keeper records show the planet has been dead for thousands of years, Amanda said. Whatever destroyed them is long gone. Carter made his decision. Set course for Zerion Prime, but we go in carefully. Full scans before we enter the system. 3 days later, the Harmony arrived. At the coordinates, the star system looked exactly like their charts had predicted. A small yellow sun with 4 rocky planets. No signs of life anywhere, but as they got closer to the 3rd planet, their scanners found something unexpected. Sir, you need to see this. Jake called from his station. The main screen showed the surface of Zerion Prime. The planet was covered with huge crystal structures. They looked like the crystal object they had found, but much larger. Some of them were as big as mountains. The entire planet is one giant crystal network, Amanda said in amazement. Are they active? Carter asked. No energy readings. They've been dark for a very long time. Carter ordered the ship to orbit the planet while they studied the crystal structures. The formations covered continents. They were arranged in perfect geometric patterns that could be seen from space. This is incredible, Amanda said. It's like the whole planet was designed to store and process information. Lisa was working at her communication station, trying to contact the crystal structures on the planet. She sent radio signals, light, pulses, even mathematical sequences. Nothing worked. Pete Williams, the ship's engineer, was studying the power systems of the crystal formations. These things would need massive amounts of energy to operate, he said. But I can't find any power sources. Maybe they're powered by something we don't understand. Amanda suggested. Lisa remembered how her humming had activated the space object. She looked around the bridge. Everyone was busy with their instruments and computers. She took a deep breath and quietly started humming the same song her grandmother had taught her. The old melody filled the bridge softly. Immediately, every screen on the ship lit up with new readings. The crystal structures on the planet below were waking up. Light began flowing through the massive formations like blood through veins. Lisa, Carter called out. Don't stop. The planet was coming alive. The crystal mountains were glowing with blue and white light. Patterns of energy moved across the surface faster than the eye could follow. Jake's instruments were going crazy. I'm getting massive data transmissions from the planet. The crystals are talking to each other. And to us, Amanda added. They're sending the same kind of holographic signals as the space object. No images appeared on their screens. They showed the planet as it used to be. Crystal cities reaching into the sky. Millions of light beings moving between the structures. Like stars in motion. But then the images changed. Dark shapes appeared in the space around the planet. Ships that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. As these dark ships arrived, the light beings began to disappear. The crystal cities went dark one by one. What are those dark ships? Carter asked. Amanda was working frantically to translate the keeper symbols that appeared with the images. They called them the Silence. They came from outside the galaxy. They feed on something the keepers called cognitive resonance. What does that mean? I think it means they eat thoughts, consciousness, intelligence itself. The images showed the Silence moving from planet to planet. Everywhere they went, thinking beings disappeared. Not killed, but consumed. Their minds absorbed by the dark. Entities. The keepers built this network to fight them, Amanda continued. The crystals were weapons, but they didn't work. How do you know? Carter asked. Amanda pointed to the final images. The Silence had won. The last of the keepers had. Hidden their history in the crystal networks, hoping someone would find it someday. They're coming back, Amanda said quietly. The records show the Silence follows a pattern. They return to each galaxy every 50,000 years. When? Carter asked, though he was afraid of the answer. Amanda finished her translation. Her face went pale. According to this, they're due back in our galaxy within the next 100 years. Maria Santos had been the communication officer on 3 different ships before joining the Harmony crew. She had never seen anything like the data coming from Zerion Prime. The crystal network was sending thousands of messages at the same time. It's like they're all talking to each other, Maria said to Lisa Rodriguez. The 2 women had become friends during their time on the ship. But they're also trying to tell us something. Lisa nodded. She felt strange, knowing that her simple humming had awakened an entire planet. Can you understand any of it? Some parts. Dr. Foster is helping me with the translation software. But Maria, the things these messages are saying. Maria's voice trailed off. She looked worried. What kind of things? Warnings. Lots of warnings about the Silence. Dr. Amanda Foster had been working without sleep for 2 days. Captain Carter was worried about her, but Amanda refused to rest. She said the keeper records contained too much important information. I found something, Amanda announced as she entered the bridge. Her hair was messy, and she was carrying a tablet full of notes. The Silence isn't random. They follow a pattern. Captain Carter looked up from his coffee. What kind of pattern? They visit each galaxy in a specific order. Always the same route. Always the same timing. Amanda showed them her tablet screen. It displayed a map of nearby galaxies with lines connecting them. Look at this path. The pattern showed the Silence moving from galaxy to galaxy like a farmer checking different fields. Each galaxy was visited exactly every 50,000 years. They're farming us, Carter said quietly. That's exactly what they're doing. They let intelligent life grow and develop for 50,000 years. Then they come back to harvest what they call cognitive resonance. Jake Morrison was listening from his station. How many times have they done this? According to the keeper records, at least 12 cycles in our local cluster. That's over 500,000 years of this pattern. Maria's communication equipment started beeping with urgent signals. She quickly read the incoming data from the planet below. Dr. Foster, I'm getting new information from the Crystal Network. They're showing us something about Earth. Everyone gathered around Maria's station. The screen displayed Earth as it looked thousands of years ago. But there were other images too. Earth from different time periods going back millions of years. They were watching us, Amanda said in amazement. The keepers had monitoring stations in our solar system. The images showed human development through the ages. Early humans discovering fire, the first cities, the development of music and art. The keepers had recorded it all. Why were they so interested in humans? Carter asked. Amanda studied the keeper symbols that appeared with the Earth images. Her translation software was getting better at reading their language. They were looking for something specific. Something about human creativity. Our music, our art, our stories. Amanda paused as she read more symbols. They called it chaotic harmony. What does that mean? Lisa asked. I think it means our creativity is unpredictable. We don't follow patterns the way other species do. The keepers thought this might be important. Pete Williams had been quiet during this discussion. As the ship's engineer, he usually focused on mechanical problems rather than alien mysteries. But something was bothering him. Dr. Foster, if the silence eats thoughts and consciousness, how did the keepers fight them? Pete asked. They used these crystal networks to amplify their mental energy, but it wasn't enough. The silence was too strong. But what if the keepers were missing something? What if they needed a different kind of mental energy? Amanda looked at Pete with interest. What are you thinking? Well, the keepers were beings of pure energy, right? Very organized. Very logical. But humans are different. We're chaotic, like you said. Maybe that chaos is exactly what's needed to fight the silence. Maria's equipment beeped again. New data was coming from the crystal network. This time, the information was about human music specifically. They're showing us recordings, Maria said. Music from Earth, going back thousands of years. The screens displayed images of humans making music throughout history. Ancient drums around campfires. Medieval singers in great halls. Modern orchestras in rock concerts. The keepers had been recording human music for millennia. Look at these analysis patterns, Amanda said. The keepers were studying our music like scientists. They were trying to understand something about it. The crystal network sent more data. This time it showed comparisons between human music and the mental patterns of other alien species. The difference was clear. Human music was far more complex and unpredictable. Most alien species create music based on mathematical patterns, Amanda explained as she read the keeper analysis. Perfect harmonies. Predictable rhythms. But human music breaks rules. We create discord and then resolve it in unexpected ways. Lisa remembered her grandmother's songs. Simple melodies that somehow carried deep emotions. My grandmother always said music was the language of the heart, not the mind. That might be the key, Amanda said excitedly. The silence feeds on organized thought patterns. But human music comes from emotion and intuition. It's not logical. It's not predictable. Captain Carter was beginning to understand. You're saying? Human music might be like a weapon against the silence. More than that. I think the keepers were preparing us for this fight. They've been watching humanity for thousands of years, waiting for us to develop enough to help them. Jake was reviewing the star maps from the original crystal object. If that's true, then these other crystal networks throughout the galaxy, they're not just historical records. They're weapons waiting to be activated by human music, Maria added. That's why Lisa's humming worked. The crystals were designed to respond to our kind of creativity. Pete Williams stood up from his station. He had been thinking about the engineering implications of what they had discovered. Captain, if we're going to use these crystal networks as weapons, we need to understand how they work. And we need to test them before the silence arrives. Carter nodded. What do you suggest? We need to visit more of these keeper worlds, learn how to operate their technology. And we need to start collecting human music. All kinds of music from Earth. How much time do we have? Carter asked Amanda. Amanda checked her translations of the keeper timeline. Based on their pattern calculations, the silence should arrive in our galaxy in about 80 years. Maybe less. 80 years to prepare for a battle against entities that have been harvesting. Galaxies for 500,000 years, Carter said grimly. Lisa looked around at her friends on the bridge. They were just one small ship with a crew of 30 people. How could they possibly prepare humanity for something like this? We can't do this alone, she said. No, Carter agreed. We need to contact Earth. Tell them what we've found. Get every human ship and every piece of human music ready for the fight of our lives. Maria's communication system chimed with one final message from the crystal network. The symbols were simple enough that everyone could understand them. It was a single word in the Keeper language. Amanda translated it quickly. "Hope," she said quietly. "They're telling us there's hope." 6 months had passed since the discovery at Zarian Prime. Captain Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony, watching dozens of human ships moving through space around them. Earth had responded quickly to the reports about the silence. "Fleet. Status report." Carter called to his crew. Jake Morrison checked his displays. 43 ships are now operational, sir. We have exploration vessels, cargo ships carrying music from Earth, and 3 military escorts. The human government had acted fast once they understood the threat. Every ship that could be spared was sent to help activate the Keeper crystal networks scattered across the galaxy. But finding and activating these ancient sites was proving more difficult than anyone had expected. Alex Chun was the fleet's chief navigator. She had joined the mission 2 months ago with detailed star maps created from the Keeper data. Her job was to guide the human ships to each crystal site. "Next target is the Vega system," Alex announced. "The Keeper records show major installation there, but it's been dead for at least 30,000 years. Dr. Amanda Foster looked tired but determined. She had become the fleet's expert on Keeper technology. Each crystal site they found taught her more about how the ancient network functioned. The Vega site should be different from Zarian Prime, Amanda explained to the assembled ship captains on the communication screen. The Keeper records suggest it was designed for a specific type of musical activation. Captain Sarah Mitchell of the cargo ship New Orleans raised her hand. "What kind of music are we talking about, Doc?" "Classical symphonies. Complex orchestral. Pieces with multiple instruments playing together. The crystals there are tuned to respond to mathematical harmony rather than simple melodies." Lisa Rodriguez had become something of a celebrity in the fleet. Her discovery that human humming could activate Keeper technology had started everything. Now she worked with teams of musicians from Earth to test different types of music on each crystal site. "I've been practicing with the orchestra pieces," Lisa said, "but I'm worried that my voice alone won't be enough for something as big as the Vega installation." Pete Williams had been studying the engineering aspects of the Keeper networks. "That's why we brought the New Orleans and the Chicago Dream. They're both loaded with musical equipment from Earth. Full orchestras, recording studios, everything we need." The fleet reached the Vega system 3 days later. The crystal installation was even larger than the one on Zarian Prime. It covered an entire moon, with crystal spires reaching up through the thin atmosphere like frozen lightning. "This is incredible," Alex whispered as she looked at the displays. "The entire moon has been transformed into a musical instrument." Amanda was scanning the crystal formations with every sensor the fleet had available. "The structure is designed like a giant resonance chamber. Sound waves can travel through the entire network simultaneously." Captain Carter gave the order to begin activation procedures. The New Orleans moved into position above the crystal moon. Captain Mitchell opened her cargo bays and began setting up the orchestra equipment in space, protected by force fields. "This is either going to work spectacularly, or we're about to make the loudest noise in galactic history," Pete commented. The first attempt used a simple symphony by Mozart. The music played through speakers positioned around the crystal moon. Nothing happened for several minutes. Then, slowly, a few crystal spires began to glow with faint blue light. "It's working, but barely," Amanda reported. "We need more complexity, more instruments." The fleet tried Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. The crystal response was stronger, but still not enough to fully activate the network. More spires lit up, but the connections between them remained dark. Lisa had an idea. "What if we combine different types of music? Classical and modern together? That's not how music is supposed to work, protested Dr. Robert Kim, one of the Earth musicians who had joined the mission. The keepers weren't human, Lisa replied. Maybe their technology works differently than our musical rules. They tried, combining a classical symphony with modern electronic music. The crystal moon erupted in brilliant light. Energy flowed through every spire and connection. The entire installation came alive for the first time in 30,000 years. Success, Amanda called out. Full network activation. The Vega site is online. But the crystal network didn't just turn on. It began projecting holographic displays. That showed the locations of 16 other installations throughout the local star systems. Each one was now sending signals to the others. They're talking to each other, Maria Santos reported from her communication station. The Vega crystals are coordinating with Zerion Prime and with sites we haven't even found yet. Over the next few months, the human fleet worked its way through the star map, activating one peeper installation after another. Each site required different types of music. Some responded to folk songs and simple melodies. Others needed complex jazz improvisation or the rhythmic beats of rock and roll. The installation in the Centauri system only activated when they played children's lullabies. The crystals on Rigel 7 required country music with harmonica solos. A massive network near the galactic core came online when they broadcast recordings of human opera singers. The keepers really did study every type of human music, Amanda marveled as they activated their 15th installation. They knew exactly what would work at each site. Alex Chun was coordinating the activation of multiple installations simultaneously. Her navigation skills had become crucial as the network grew more complex. We now have 17 sites online and connected, Alex reported. The network effect is getting stronger with each new activation. Lisa had grown more confident with each successful mission. She had learned to sing and hum different styles of music, becoming the fleet's primary interface with the Keeper technology. I can feel them responding, Lisa said after activating a site near Andromeda. It's like the crystals are happy to be awake again. Pete Williams had been studying the power levels generated by the connected network. The energy output is increasing exponentially. Each new site doesn't just add to the network, it multiplies the total power. Captain Carter was pleased with their progress, but he remained worried about timing. How many more sites do we need to activate? Amanda checked her. Analysis of the Keeper records. According to their defensive plans, they had 47 major installations in this region of the galaxy. We've activated 17, but the records suggest that 30 installations might be enough to create an effective defensive field. And a silence? Carter asked. Alex Chun had been monitoring long-range sensors for any signs of the approaching enemy. Still no direct contact, but there are strange readings from the edge of the galaxy. Dark matter concentrations that don't match natural patterns. How long do we have? Carter asked. Based on the movement patterns, I estimate 18 months before they reach our outer systems. The fleet had grown to over 60 ships as more vessels arrived from Earth. Musicians, scientists, engineers, and military personnel, all working together to prepare humanity's defense. 13 more installations to go, Amanda said as she looked. At the star maps? If we can activate 30 sites and connect them into a single network, we might actually have a chance against the silence. Lisa looked out at the stars, thinking about her grandmother's simple songs that had started this incredible journey. Soon, all of human music would be joined together in a crystal network spanning the galaxy. The question was whether it would be enough to save them all. The warning came at 3 a.m, ship time. Alex Chun was sleeping when her emergency communicator started screaming with alerts. She rolled out of bed and ran to the bridge of the U's Harmony, still wearing her pajamas. Report, she called to the night watch officer. Long-range sensors are picking up massive objects at the edge of the galaxy, Lieutenant Tom Brady said. His voice was shaking. They're big, Alex, really big. Alex looked at the sensor displays. The objects were still too far away to see clearly, but the computer estimates made her stomach drop. Each ship was over 50 miles long. There were hundreds of them. Wake Captain Carter, Alex ordered, and get Dr. Foster and the others up. Here now. Within minutes, the senior staff was assembled on the bridge. Captain Carter looked at the sensor readings with grim determination. Jake Morrison was running calculations on his computer. Amanda Foster was comparing the sensor data to keep her records about the silence. How long until they reach us? Carter asked. At their current speed, 6 days until they reach the outer colonies, Alex replied. Maybe 10 days until they get to Earth. Amanda was studying the shapes of the approaching ships. They looked like they were made of shadow and darkness. Sensors could barely detect them at all. The keeper records were right, Amanda said quietly. These ships absorb light and energy. They're like holes in space. Lisa Rodriguez joined them on the bridge. She had been practicing with the Crystal Network for months, learning how to coordinate musical signals across dozens of star systems. Are we ready? Lisa asked. Can the network stop them? We have 31 installations online, Amanda replied. That should be enough, according to the Keeper defensive plans. But we've never tested the network against a real attack. Captain Carter activated the fleet-wide communication system. Over 80 human ships were now spread across the galaxy, each one positioned near a Keeper crystal installation. All ships, this is Captain Carter. The silence has arrived. All crews. Report to battle stations. Begin network activation sequence on my command. The first contact came 2 days earlier than expected. A small human colony in the Tau Ceti system went silent. No distress calls, no explosions. The 15,000 colonists simply stopped communicating. We're getting reports from the rescue ships, Jake announced. The colonists are alive, but they're not responding to anything. They just sit and stare at nothing. Dr. Foster felt sick. The silence has started feeding. They're draining the cognitive resonance from human minds. More colonies went silent over the next few hours. Each time, the silence ships would arrive at a system, hover over populated worlds for a few hours, then move on. The people left behind were alive but empty. Their consciousness had been consumed. They're moving toward Earth, Alex reported, following the major shipping routes. They'll hit the Luna colonies in about 18 hours. Captain Carter made the decision that would determine humanity's fate. All ships begin network activation. Full power to all crystal installations. Across the galaxy, human ships began broadcasting music into the ancient Keeper crystals. The network that had been dormant for 30,000 years came fully alive. For the first time since the fall of the Keeper civilization, Lisa stood at the center of the Harmony's bridge, surrounded by musical equipment from Earth. Her job was to coordinate the entire network, conducting an orchestra of crystal installations, spread across multiple star systems. Beginning primary activation sequence, Lisa announced. She started with the song her grandmother had taught her, the simple melody that had started everything. The crystal network responded immediately. Light began flowing between the Keeper installations faster than the speed of light itself. The crystals were using some kind of quantum connection that Amanda didn't fully understand. Within minutes, all 31 sites were linked together in a single massive network. Network is stable, Amanda reported. Power levels are beyond anything the Keepers ever achieved. The combination with human music has amplified their technology. The first test came when a silent ship approached the Vita system. The crystal installation that was one of the largest in the network. Lisa focused her musical energy through the crystals, sending a wave of pure human creativity toward the dark ship. "Direct hit," Jake called out. "The silent ship is... it's backing away." The dark vessel had stopped its approach to Vega. For the first time in recorded history, the silence had retreated from something. But the victory was short-lived. More silence ships began arriving in the outer systems. They were learning from the first encounter, adapting their approach. "They're avoiding the systems with active crystal installations," Alex reported. "But they're still draining the colonies that aren't protected." Amanda was studying the silence ship movements. "They're testing us, trying to find weaknesses in the network." The real battle began when 50 silence ships surrounded the Sol system. Earth, Mars, and the Luna colonies were directly threatened. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for. "All network installations, focus energy on Sol system," Lisa commanded. She was conducting 31 crystal sites simultaneously, weaving together music from every human culture and time period. The space around Earth lit up with brilliant energy from the crystal network. Classical symphonies, rock and roll, jazz, improvisations, folk songs, electronic music, and everything in between flowed through the keeper crystals and created a barrier of pure human creativity around the home system. The silence ships tried to penetrate the barrier, but couldn't. Every time they approached, the musical energy pushed them back. Their dark holes began to glow as the human creativity affected them in ways they had never experienced. "It's working," Pete Williams shouted from his engineering station. "The network is holding them back." But the silence was not giving up easily. The dark ships began to coordinate their attacks, hitting multiple points in the crystal network simultaneously. Several of the smaller installations were overwhelmed and went offline. "We're losing sites," Amanda warned. "The network is weakening. I need more music," Lisa said. She was straining to maintain control of the remaining crystal installations. "Different kinds of music, styles we haven't used yet." Captain Carter opened communication channels to every human ship and colony that could still transmit. "All human settlements, we need your music. Every song, every melody, every rhythm you have. Broadcast everything now." The response was immediate. From mining stations to research outposts, from military bases to passenger ships, humans began broadcasting their music. Children's lullabies from Mars colonies, work songs from asteroid miners, love ballads from transport crews, even the simple humming of scared colonists hiding from the silence. Lisa felt the network surge with new power as thousands of different musical expressions flowed through the crystals. The Keeper installations had been designed to handle the complexity of human creativity, but even they had never experienced anything like this. "Network power at maximum," Amanda reported. "We're beyond theoretical limits." The silence ships began to retreat from the Sol system, but Lisa could sense that this was not over. The dark entities were regrouping, preparing for a final assault. That would test everything humanity had learned about fighting them. "They're coming back," Alex warned, as her sensors detected movement at the edge of the solar system. All of them at once. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the flagship UE Symphony, watching the largest space battle in human history unfold around him. 20 years had passed since that first discovery of the Keeper crystal. Jake was no longer the young lieutenant who had found strange readings on his sensors. Now he commanded the entire human defense fleet. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Captain Lisa Rodriguez announced from her position at the Fleet Communication Center. Lisa had also changed over the years. She was now the primary coordinator for the entire crystal network, able to conduct musical energy across hundreds of star systems. The silence had returned in force. Over 1,000 dark ships surrounded the Sol system like a swarm of hungry insects. They had learned from their previous defeats and were now attacking with coordinated precision. "Network status report. Jake commanded. Dr. Amanda Foster, now the head of Human Keeper Technology Research, checked her displays. 47 crystal installations are online and connected. We've rebuilt the network stronger than the original keepers ever achieved. Amanda looked older now, with gray hair and tired eyes, but her mind was sharper than ever. 20 years of studying keeper technology had made her the galaxy's leading expert on crystal-based defense systems. The Silence ships are different. This time, Alex Chun reported from the navigation station. Alex had become the fleet's strategic coordinator, responsible for positioning human ships throughout the galaxy. They're bigger, more organized, and they're not retreating when we hit them with the musical attacks. Jake studied the enemy formation. The dark ships were arranged in perfect geometric patterns around Earth. They were preparing for something big. What do they want? Pete Williams asked from the engineering section. Pete had spent decades upgrading human ships with Keeper crystal technology. Now every human vessel could channel musical energy as a weapon. They want to finish what they started 50,000 years ago, Amanda replied. Complete the harvest. They've been studying our defenses for 20 years. Now they're ready to break through. The first wave of the attack began without warning. The Silence ships released waves of dark energy that absorbed light, sound, and eventually consciousness itself. The darkness spread toward Earth like an incoming tide. All crystal installations begin defensive harmonies, Lisa commanded. Her voice was broadcast to every human settlement in the galaxy. Everyone sing. Everyone play music. Give me everything you have. The crystal network responded with brilliant light. Musical energy flowed between the installations faster than thought itself. But this time, the Silence was ready for humanity's musical defense. They're adapting, Amanda warned. The dark energy is changing frequency to match our musical patterns. They're learning to absorb our creativity. Jake watched the battle displays with growing concern. The Silence ships were pushing through the musical barriers. Several of the outer crystal installations went dark as the enemy overwhelmed them. We're losing the network, Alex reported. They're targeting the crystal sites directly. Lisa was straining to maintain control of the remaining installations. 20 years of practice had made her incredibly skilled, but the Silence was stronger than anything the Keepers had ever faced. I need something new, Lisa called out. Music they haven't heard before. Something unpredictable. Jake had an idea. During the 20 years of preparation, humanity had not just collected old music, they had also created new music. Songs about the discovery of the Keeper crystals. Ballads about the fight against the Silence. Music that carried the hopes and fears of an entire species facing extinction. Broadcast the new compositions, Jake ordered. Everything we've created since the discovery. Songs about this war. Music about hope and fear and the fight for survival. The crystal network surged with power as uniquely human music flowed through the ancient Keeper technology. These were songs that had never existed before the Silence arrived. Music that carried the emotions of humanity's struggle for survival. The effect on the Silence was immediate and dramatic. The dark ships began to shake and flicker. Their perfect formations broke apart as they encountered human creativity they could not predict or absorb. It's working, Pete shouted. The new music is disrupting their adaptation systems. But the Silence had one final strategy. The largest of their ships, a massive vessel over 100 miles long, moved toward Earth itself. This ship was different from the others. Instead of absorbing energy, it began to project something. What is that thing doing? Alex asked. Amanda's instruments were detecting strange readings from the massive Silence ship. It's not trying to absorb our music. It's trying to communicate. The projection from the enemy ship created images in space around Earth. Images of galaxies being harvested over millions of years. Countless civilizations consumed by the silence. But there were also images of civilizations that had survived. They're showing us their history, Amanda said in amazement. Species that fought back successfully. The images revealed that the silence was not evil in the way humans understood evil. They were ancient beings who fed on cognitive resonance, the way humans ate food, but they had rules, laws that governed their harvesting. They're offering us a choice, Lisa realized as she interpreted the musical patterns in their communication. Fight and possibly die, or join them as partners. Jake looked at the images of species that had chosen to work with the silence. They became collectors for the dark entities, helping to harvest other civilizations in exchange for their own survival. Never, Jake said firmly. We don't sacrifice others to save ourselves. The response came immediately. Every human in the galaxy began to sing at the same time. Not coordinated songs or practiced melodies, but spontaneous expressions of their refusal to become like the silence. Work songs from miners, lullabies from mothers, battle hymns from soldiers, love songs from couples. The pure, chaotic, beautiful creativity that made humans unique. The crystal network amplified this spontaneous musical response into something the silence had never encountered in millions of years of harvesting. Not organized resistance, but the raw emotional power of an entire species refusing to give up their humanity. The massive silence ship began to retreat, but before it left, it projected one final message. Images of respect. Acknowledgement that humanity had achieved something remarkable. They're leaving, Alex reported with disbelief. All of them. They're actually leaving. The dark ships disappeared into the space between galaxies, returning to whatever realm they came from. But they left behind a final gift. Knowledge of other species in distant galaxies who were also preparing to face the silence when their time came. Years later, Lisa Rodriguez sat in a small classroom on Earth, surrounded by children from a dozen different alien species. Humanity had become teachers, sharing their musical defense techniques with other civilizations throughout the galaxy. And that's how your grandparents' song saved the galaxy, Lisa finished her story. An alien child with blue skin raised her hand. Ms. Rodriguez, will you teach us the song your grandmother sang to you? Lisa smiled and began to hum the simple melody that had started everything. The children joined in, their different voices, creating something new and beautiful. Outside the classroom windows, crystal installations glowed softly in the sunlight, still connected across the galaxy, still ready to defend against the dark. Music had saved them all. Now and then, whenever the universe needed hope, humanity would be ready to sing.